In 240 BC, when Archimedes of Syracuse calculated that the ratio of the circumference of any circle to the diameter of that circle was 3.145926532589793238462643383827946264338. We'll leave Daniel to that. He may be some time. When Archimedes of Syracuse first calculated pi, did he have to use ingenuity? And was ingenuity sufficient on its own? Or did his production of the knowledge of pi require some other factors as well? Are you finished yet? Welcome to ToK Today. Today we're looking at essay number 2, November 24. Is ingenuity always needed but never enough in the production of knowledge? And if you're unclear about the key terms, ingenuity and always needed but never enough, then make sure to watch our CTB video for this prompt covering the basics video linked above. In this video, we're just going to jump straight into the question, is ingenuity always needed but never enough in the production of knowledge? And if you want detailed help and guidance on this essay, make sure that you pick up the ToK Today essay guidance notes for this title from the ToK Today website, link in the video description. Now, obviously, we could spend an inordinate amount of time and use up vital words defining ingenuity and defining the term needed. There are lots of great knowledge debates to be had around those terms, but that's not the main sort of reason for this prompt. The first big decision for this prompt is, what are your main knowledge claims going to be? What's going to be your main argument in AOK Maths and your other AOKs? Because you have a lot of choices on how you can argue this essay. Let's just outline some of the very broad main ways that you could go about arguing this essay or approaching this essay. So you could argue for the question, ingenuity is always needed but never enough. But then you could argue that ingenuity is sometimes needed but never enough. Or you could argue ingenuity is sometimes needed and can be enough on its own. Or you could argue that ingenuity is sometimes present, not needed, and never enough. And so on and so on. We could just continue to develop alternative propositions to the prescribed title. And you can use some of those propositions as your main claim in one or the other AOKs, or as evaluation points to your main claims. Further, we could, maybe should, also add conditions to those alternative propositions. So, for example, we could argue that ingenuity is sometimes needed and can be enough on its own, depending on the intended use of the knowledge. In this case, the intended use of the knowledge would be the conditions placed upon the alternative proposition. And other such conditions could be things like the methods and tools used for the production of knowledge, the pre-existing principles, concepts, laws, or perspectives in the area of knowledge, the context of the knowledge producer, and so on and so on. There are just so many ways to answer this question, far more ways than the scope of this video will allow. So we go into the various knowledge claims that could be used for this prompt, real-life examples and evaluation points, and lots of other things in the ToK Today essay guidance notes for this prompt, which are linked in the video description. Those guidance notes are like a mini textbook for this prompt. They're over 6,700 words long, and they contain everything that you need to get a great score on this essay. Now, let's look at one specific claim in mathematics and its related evaluation points in more detail. And let me emphasize again that this is just one example of how to approach this essay. There are many, many other ways to write this essay. Many of those ways better than the way that I'm giving you here. So let's argue for the title, that ingenuity is always needed but never enough for the production of mathematical knowledge. And for this knowledge claim, we're going to define ingenuity as the use of new, innovative, or unconventional methods and tools for the production of knowledge. And remember, it's up to you how you define ingenuity. Obviously, you should give some rationale for your definition, but it's better to have a ToK specific definition rather than a dictionary definition. We're going to take as our example the one that we used at the beginning of this video, the first documented calculation of pi by Archimedes of Syracuse in approximately 240 BC or 2260 BCE. Now, we know that the ancient Babylonians had calculated the area of a circle in about 1900 BC or 3900 BCE, and they got it to a value of pi being equal to 3. Now, their method was more rudimentary than Archimedes, and therefore they had a less precise result. Now, we know that the ancient Egyptians calculated pi to 3.1605 in 1650 BC, that's 3670 BCE. However, Archimedes of Syracuse used a new method of calculation in 240 BCE to get us much closer to the calculation of pi that we still use today, 2,200 years later. Now, without going into long descriptions of all of the complex mathematics, don't do that because your essay will be too descriptive if you do, we could argue that Archimedes' use of new methods for calculating pi was ingenious. But he also used pre-existing knowledge from the Babylonians and the Egyptians. So as such, ingenuity was needed, but ingenuity alone was not enough. We could then take this to the wider knowledge point that the production of any new knowledge is the development of pre-existing knowledge, be that concepts, theories, research data, methods, and tools or laws. And this pre-existing knowledge fulfills the never enough conditions in the prescribed title. We then need a new approach to this existing knowledge, and this new approach could be methodological, perspective-based, concept-based, or a change in the intended application of the knowledge. This new approach fulfills the ingenuity condition in the title. As such, we argue that ingenuity is always needed, but never enough, in the production of mathematical knowledge. Now, obviously, there are numerous evaluation points that we can develop for this claim in AOK Maths. Great, because you need evaluation points to get high scores in the ToK essay. Now, remember to use evaluation points rather than counterclaims if you want to get that high score. And if you want to know more about evaluation, check out my video, Evaluation in the ToK Essays, linked above. And whilst I remember, please hit like and subscribe if this video is useful. It really helps me out, and it's an ingenious way to give back a little to the channel. Thanks. Okay, a few examples for the evaluation points for the claim that ingenuity is always needed but never enough for the production of mathematical knowledge. Firstly, ingenuity is a very vague concept that can be interpreted in many different ways according to context and the needs of the knowledge argument. I love the concept of context. That which is deemed ingenious in one context may be seen as uncreative, unimaginative, and conventional in another context. As such, the implication is that we need more precise and operationalized terms to define the extra factors needed for the production of knowledge. Second evaluation point. To state that ingenuity is always needed is to restrict the conditions for the production of knowledge. The replication of prior research doesn't involve ingenuity. It's broadly just repeating what has already been done, but it may lead to the production of new knowledge. Therefore, ingenuity may not always be needed. It could be argued that if the aim of the knowledge producer is to consolidate the reliability of knowledge production, then ingenuity is not only needed, but is even undesirable and detrimental to the production of knowledge. And we could go on and on developing these evaluation points, but I think you've got the idea, and you've been gracious enough to give me more than enough of your time today. There are, of course, many other ways to develop this essay, some of which we go into in a lot more detail in the ToK Today essay guidance notes, link in the video description. Thank you for watching. Remember to hit like and subscribe. ToK Today has videos for all of the other ToK essay titles and for many of the ToK exhibition titles, so tell your friends about us. Stay ToKtastic, my friends.